Hello, book lovers, and welcome to Book Talk Radio Club. My name is Claire Perkins, and today I'm talking to author S.J. Wilke. She writes in three genres: dark fantasy crime thrillers and young adult fantasy. Today we're going to be talking about three of her novels: Bitten Again, Bitten Babe, and Bantering with a Dandy. The Bitten series, which is dark fantasy, features Natalia, a young innocent preparing for her life in a nunnery, a path that her parents have chosen for her. However, she knows the only way to escape is to get pregnant. However, the man she thinks will do the job proves to be almost the devil himself, and she finds herself on the darker side of life. A poisonous bite from him drags her into his world, a world of surprises she'd never dreamed of. Bitten Again and Bitten Babe carries on with Natalia's story. Bantering with a Dandy, which is a crime thriller series, features Banter, an ex-gun for hire. In Bantering with a Dandy, Banter finds herself working undercover as a dolled-up dame in a bar trying to snag a drug lord. Meanwhile, she's now a wife and mother with two young boys who create their own challenges with a husband who starts coming home late. Hi Sarah, welcome and thank you for coming back on Book Talk Radio Club.
Well, thank you very much.
Firstly, let's talk about your two new Bitten novels, Bitten Again and Bitten Babe. Bitten Again, which is book 2 in the series, was published in April of this year, and Natalia has become part of the Viperian community. She's changed from the naive, overprotected teenager to a knife-slinging lady to be reckoned with. I have to ask, what is the Viperian community? Sounds like something to do with snakes.
There is a connection. Viperians are fang-wielding people who are venomous. Think of vampires that don't bite for blood, but to inject venom that either seduces, controls, or kills their chosen victim. I've created this city, Apollo, where Natalia lives, and where the Viperians are working hard to integrate themselves into the community. However, there are challenges since the Viperians have a different set of morals and norms than the rest of the people. For example, they aren't monogamous, they like to breed in a parking lot, and have government-trained assassins. That's Viperian government trained. And that's just a taste of how different they are and how much Natalia has to adjust.
Would you like to give Book Talk Radio Club's listeners a brief synopsis of Bitten Again?
Bitten Again is a continuation of the first book, Bitten. Yuri and his group, Yuri is Natalia's guy, and there's a group that they have their eyes on Sherry, who's the head of the Viperian government. You know, they think she's guilty in all the bad things that have been going on. There's been murders and attacks and things against both Yuri and Natalia. However, Sherry is pregnant, and they decide to wait until her child is born to get the evidence against her. Meanwhile, Natalia has a few doubts that Sherry is really bad, but lots of bad things keep happening that they have to try and figure out and who is responsible. The book is very fast and furious, and many times it's hard to see which side is really bad. No one seems innocent, including Natalia.
Tell me about Natalia's character. She's changed from an innocent teenager to a gun-slinging lady.
Well, in the first book, Natalia goes from living with her parents to living among the Viperians. She's had to learn self-defense and how to throw knives to survive, and all of this has happened after she had to kill someone who attacked her. Meanwhile, her man Yuri seems to always be in the thick of things. His government uses him as an assassin, but Yuri is always scheming, manipulating, and being just as bad as the people that he's set out to kill. He's not exactly a model citizen. He's a really bad boy, but he keeps getting away with stuff. And he ends up being Natalia's role model that she's learning from just by being around him. But meanwhile, he's learning some of her good ways.
Bitten Babe, the third book in the series, the long-awaited event has happened. Natalia has finally delivered her daughter, Victoria. Victoria is very different looking. Many are wondering if she's even a Viperian offspring. There's even a petition before the council demanding a definition of what makes a person Viperian. So what does make a person a Viperian?
Well, in many societies, there's beliefs and traditions and lore that tends to run deep within a community. There's parents that parents tell children to help them learn to behave. There's mythical beasts, demons, what have you. Victoria doesn't look like the typical Viperian. Viperians tend to have black hair and green eyes. Victoria has neither of these and seems to fit into one of the demon stories told by parents. And Viperians have fangs. Victoria doesn't seem to have those either. However, never underestimate the child of Natalia and Yuri, even as a newborn infant. This book has an underlying theme about differences in people.
So now we have Bitten, Bitten Again, and Bitten Babe. Is this just a 3-book series, or will we be hearing more from Natalia, Yuri, and Victoria?
A 4th book is planned. It is called Bitten Kitten, and it will have the unique point of view from both Victoria, who is now 1-year-old, and Natalia, who is learning how to parent a Viperian child.
Let's move on to your banter series, Bantering with Murder, Book 1. Banter is a gun for hire. Tell us more.
Banter is a wonderful, quirky character. She is a gun for hire, can pick locks, steal cars, although she does always bring them back. She works alone, which may be why when she sees a handsome Detective Corey, who is investigating one of her hits, that she falls for him. And she starts playing a game of cat and mouse via phone calls. However, he's married. But when his wife leaves him, she investigates why and falls into doing some work for him, where there is a series of massacres happening.
And Book 2 of the Banter series, Bantering with a Gun, Banter is plagued by a stalker, and she, who was once the hunter, is now the hunted. She must use all her skill and the advice of a 5-year-old boy to survive and to crack both cases. Those are the cases she must investigate, but what's happening in Banter's personal life in Book 2?
Banter is now with Corey and integrating herself into his life. To find out what happened to his wife, you have to read the first book. But Banter is now playing mother to his 2 sons and is working on the side of the law now. She's an interesting parent, teaching some unusual life skills to his young sons, which include learning how to handle firearms. The 5-year-old Kyle actually protects the nanny once when the stalker tries getting into the house. And the advice that Kyle gives her, be like a ninja.
Book 3 of the series, and the most recently published, Bantering with a Dandy. Why is Banter dolled up and working undercover in a bar?
Banter's now part of the undercover group in the police force, and she thinks they're doing some really stupid things to try and get close to a drug lord. And she says they have to get closer to the guy, which results in her boss saying, "Great." Unfortunately, his idea is for her to get dressed up and go sit at the bar.
Right, so who's the dandy?
The dandy is a drug lord that the police have been trying to catch, but they think he's part of a larger group. The undercover group have been watching him for months to get more evidence, but Banter is brought in to help.
Banter is now a wife and a mother with 2 young boys who create their own challenges with a husband who starts coming home late. What are these challenges, and why is her husband coming home late? It sounds ominous.
Part of the underlying story of this book is how tough it is being a police officer. It's not a 9-to-5 job. You work long hours. Family life suffers. Police officers tend to develop a depressing view of life. We learn a lot about Corey's last wife and why she left him and what he did to try and fix things. There are also issues that Banter has to face, although when she does see a bad guy, she's usually right.
And now she's finding herself becoming the mother hen to the entire police force, who are having growing pains as they adapt to the way she operates. So how does she operate? How is it so different?
Banter has a practical view on life, and she is used to doing things her own way. So when politics and red tape get in the way, she just tromps right through. When a voice needs to be heard, she makes sure she gets through, and if the police force won't give her the tools she needs to do the job, she gets her own. And when she has a gut feeling about something, she acts. She doesn't wait for a meeting to have someone tell her what to do.
She sounds a bit like a square peg in a round hole.
Yes.
You write in 3 genres, dark fantasy, crime thrillers and young adult fantasy. Do you find it difficult to switch between the genres when writing?
Each main character is like a friend, and like a friend, they're all different. And because they're different, you act different with each of them. They have different traits and personalities that I've given them, and so as soon as you start working back with them, it's easy to write for them in the genre in which they exist.
It just starts flowing again, I guess. So who will most enjoy your dark fantasy series? Which reading audience are they aimed at?
The dark fantasies can be for any age, but I'm finding that women who are between 18 and 35 are the most popular readers.
Is there a particular author or book that set you on the road of writing crime thrillers?
The crime thrillers came about more from a thought rather than another author or book. There was something intriguing about a strong female character who prowls the night killing drug lords and knocking off sex offenders and gets away with it.
I bet. What's next on the writing front for you?
This year has been, I'm going to set a record of writing 7 books.
Wow.
I like the fantasy genre because there are no rules.
Yeah.
And I like dragons, so I'm working on a dragon book called Tempering with the Dragon.
Wow. So where can Book Talk Radio Club's listeners purchase the Bitten and the Banter series and of course your other books?
The best way to find out where they're available is to go to my website, which is www.iamsara.com. iamsara.com.
Fantastic. All right, thank you, Sarah. Good luck for the future, and thank you everyone for listening to Book Talk Radio Club. Nice to speak to you again.
Thank you very much. Nice to speak with you.
Okay, bye now.